Ever feel like you're on that treadmill, running and running, achieving all these successes, but still something feels kind of empty?
Yeah, that's what we're going to dive into today. The journey of a man who had it all, really. Wealth, career, prestige, even a Ferrari, but traded it all in.
For something more.
Yeah.
You got it. We're going to unpack this international bestseller, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's this really interesting blend of ancient wisdom and those modern day struggles we all have, like a guidebook almost for escaping burnout and finding real fulfillment.
Exactly. And what's so cool is this book, it's not about, becoming a monk or anything like that. It's about finding the potential within yourself.
Okay, now I'm definitely intrigued. So who is this Julian Mantle, and what made him trade in that fast lane for a life of monkhood?
Well, Julian was this hotshot lawyer, the epitome of success on the outside. Imagine 7-figure income, a mansion, flashy red Ferrari, but underneath it all, super stressed, overworked, and then his body basically sent him a message. He had a heart attack.
Whoa, talk about a wake-up call. Sometimes our bodies have to tell us what our minds just haven't quite figured out yet. So what did he do after this, life-changing thing?
He did something pretty radical. He realized chasing all that external success came at a cost to his own well-being. He decided to sell everything, possessions, the Ferrari, everything, and went on this journey to India to search for something deeper.
So he traded in his, power suits for a spiritual quest. That's quite the change. What was he hoping to find in India?
Guidance. He was looking for guidance from the sages of Savannah, this legendary group said to have ancient wisdom on how to live a more fulfilling life. They live in Savannah, this hidden village high in the Himalayas. Picture a village made of roses, the air just vibrates with serenity, and the sages themselves, they just radiate youthfulness and vitality, even though they're old. It's amazing, a testament to how they live.
Okay, this sounds like something straight out of a movie. A village of wise sages in a rose haven. I can practically feel my stress melting away just thinking about it. What kind of wisdom did these sages have?
They taught Julian a system for what they call radiant living, based on 7 virtues. Each one is designed to unlock inner peace and your potential.
7 virtues. Okay, I like the sound of that. So what's the first one on the list?
The first one, and maybe the most important, is mastering your mind. The sages believe our thoughts really do shape our reality. They emphasize positive thinking, visualization, and overcoming fear. That's the foundation for achieving inner peace and creating a life you actually want.
That makes sense. Our thoughts are so powerful, but we often let them just run wild without even realizing how much they impact our lives. So how did the sages suggest we go about mastering our minds?
They have this really cool technique called the secret of the lake. It involves finding some tranquil water, a lake, a pond, even a still pool, gazing into the water, and visualizing your dreams and aspirations coming true. The stillness of the water helps quiet the mind, and you can actually plant the seeds of your desires in your subconscious.
That sounds incredibly peaceful and powerful at the same time. It's like meditation, but with a more visual and intentional approach.
Yeah, exactly. You're actively shaping your thoughts, instead of passively letting them just happen.
And speaking of shaping thoughts, they also talked about the power of mantras, or positive affirmations, to reprogram your self-image and boost your confidence.
Mantras, I've heard of those. So it's like consciously choosing positive phrases and repeating them to kind of rewire those negative thought patterns, right?
Exactly. Replace that self-doubt with empowering affirmations, and you can actually shift your whole inner dialogue and ultimately your whole experience of life.
So the first virtue, mastering your mind, it's all about taking control of our thoughts, using visualization and affirmations to create a more positive and empowering mental landscape. What's the next virtue on this list? What else did these sages teach Julian?
Well, after mastering his mind, Julian was ready for the second virtue, following your purpose. And this is where the concept of dharma comes in.
Dharma. That's an interesting word. Can you break down dharma for me in a way that's easy to understand? Dharma is basically your unique life mission. The reason you're here on this planet at this particular time, it's about knowing your passions, your talents, your values, and using those things to contribute to the world in a way that's meaningful to you.
So it's not just about what you're good at, but what gives you that sense of purpose, like you're truly alive.
Right. The sages encourage you to ask yourself, what am I passionate about? What are those activities that make me lose track of time? What would I do even if I wasn't getting paid for it? The answers to those questions, those are clues to your unique dharma.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these virtues build on each other. Mastering your mind lets you quiet that inner critic and listen to the inner voice that guides you toward your purpose.
Exactly. Cultivating a positive and focused mind creates that mental space to explore your passions and uncover your dharma.
So how did Julian discover his dharma? What was his unique purpose?
Well, as a lawyer, he had completely neglected his creative side. But during his time with the sages, he rediscovered his passion for painting. He realized this was a clue to his dharma. It was his way to express himself authentically and bring beauty into the world.
That's beautiful. It's amazing how sometimes our true passions are there all along, just waiting to be rediscovered. It makes you think about what hidden talents we might all have, just waiting to be unearthed.
That's the power of going on that journey of self-discovery. You just never know what you might find.
Okay, so we've got the first two virtues. Mastering your mind, following your purpose. They lay the foundation for a life of inner peace and fulfillment.
Yeah.
What's the third virtue on this path to radiant living?
The third one is all about taking action and making steady progress towards your goals. It's called practicing Kaizen.
Kaizen? I've heard of that. It's a Japanese concept, right?
Right. Kaizen is the philosophy of continuous incremental improvement. It's the idea that small, consistent effort day after day leads to big results over time.
So instead of trying to make those drastic changes overnight, it's about focusing on those small, manageable steps that move us in the right direction.
Exactly. The sages emphasize that even those tiny improvements, when you do them consistently, can create this compounding effect, leading to huge change over time.
It reminds me of that saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's about patience, persistence, and that belief in the power of consistent effort.
And one of the key parts of Kaizen is facing your fears, even in little ways. Each time you step outside that comfort zone, you build confidence and you expand your capacity for growth.
That's a great point. We let fear stop us from going after those dreams. But if you break it down into smaller, manageable steps, then we can make steady progress without getting overwhelmed.
Exactly. The sages believe that even facing a small fear, like speaking up at a meeting or trying a new activity, can create this ripple effect and give you the courage to tackle bigger challenges down the line.
I really like this idea of Kaizen. It's practical, it's empowering, and it reminds us that even small actions can create those big results over time.
And you can use it in any part of your life, whether you're working on your physical health, your relationships, your career. Kaizen encourages you to focus on those consistent, incremental improvements.
So we've covered mastering your mind, following your purpose, and now practicing Kaizen. Each virtue seems to build on the one before, creating that path to a more fulfilling life. I'm ready for virtue number 4. What else did the sages teach Julian on his journey?
This one's all about self-mastery. It's called living with discipline. The sages believe that self-control, that's really the foundation for achieving anything meaningful.
Discipline. That's something I think a lot of us struggle with. It's easy to set those goals, those intentions, but actually following through consistently requires a whole other level of commitment.
Yeah.
What did the sages say about cultivating discipline?
Well, they told this story about Gandhi. He was famous for his discipline, just unwavering. They explained that he actually developed this strength of will through doing these small, deliberate acts of self-control. Like, he'd start simple, controlling his diet, his speech, and gradually build up his self-discipline over time.
So it's like discipline is a muscle that you can strengthen with exercise.
Exactly. And one of the techniques they suggested, and this was kind of out there, is the vow of silence. It's about not speaking for a whole day, only if you absolutely have to.
Wow, a whole day of silence. That sounds incredibly challenging, but I can see how it could be powerful for strengthening your willpower. It's like mental boot camp for self-control.
Exactly. You're consciously choosing to not speak, so you're training your mind to resist those impulses. Stay focused on what you want to do. You prove to yourself that you're in control of your actions and thoughts, not the other way around.
So it's not just about being quiet, it's about building up that inner strength to resist distractions.
Yeah.
And stay committed to what you want to do.
And they said you don't have to start with a whole day. Start smaller, maybe an hour or two,
Yeah.
and gradually increase it as you get stronger mentally. And, they also said to incorporate other small acts of discipline into your day, like making your bed every morning, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, resisting that extra piece of cake. All those little things done consistently can really build up your self-discipline.
I like that. It's finding those little opportunities throughout the day to exercise that discipline muscle.
Right, and then eventually those little things, they become habits. Makes it easier to stay in control in more challenging situations.
So the fourth virtue, living with discipline, it's about strengthening our willpower and building habits that support our goals. What about the fifth virtue? What did the sages have to say about this one?
This one focuses on our most valuable resource, time. The sages called it respecting your time. They believe that time, you never get it back. So use it wisely and intentionally. So true. It's like time just disappears, especially with how fast-paced everything is nowadays. Always connected. It's easy to feel like you're constantly trying to catch up. How did the sages say we should go about respecting our time?
They were all about time management, planning, and prioritizing. Make sure that the truly important things in life, like spending time with the people you love, pursuing your passions, taking care of yourself, make sure those things don't get lost in the busyness of everyday life.
It's like you have to be proactive with your time. Really design your days and run on purpose, not just reacting to whatever comes up.
Exactly. And they had this interesting idea. They called it the ancient rule of 20. It says that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your effort.
Oh, I've heard of that. That's so true. So it's about figuring out those high-impact activities, the 20% that really make a difference, prioritizing those above everything else.
Exactly. Look at your week. Ask yourself, what are the things that really get me results? How can I make more time for those? And maybe delegate or get rid of the less important things.
Yeah.
I like that. It's so easy to get bogged down in all the little details on our to-do list. But we need to remember to focus on what truly matters.
It's about working smarter, not harder, and making sure your time is aligned with what's important to you.
Respecting your time. That's definitely something I need to work on. It's so easy to let distractions take over, but I can see how being intentional with my time could make more room for what I really value.
It takes practice, but it's worth it. Ready for number 6?
Hit me with it.
This one's all about letting go of excess, finding contentment in simplicity. It's called embracing simplicity.
Simplicity, that's a powerful concept, especially in today's world, where we're always told we need more, 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 more. What did the sages say about embracing simplicity?
They believe that unless you reduce your needs, you'll always be chasing after something and never truly satisfied. They said true happiness comes from appreciating what you have and finding joy in the little things.
It's about shifting our focus from stuff to experiences, to relationships and personal growth. It seems like people are realizing that true wealth isn't measured by what you own, but by how rich your life experiences are and the quality of your relationships.
And Julian is a great example of this. He had all that wealth and possessions, but he only found true happiness when he simplified his life and focused on what really mattered to him.
Less is more. Sometimes by letting go of all the things that weigh us down, we make space for more joy, peace, and fulfillment.
They said, look at your life and see where you can simplify. Do you really need all those clothes? Could you downsize your home? Spend less money and have more freedom? Get rid of the clutter and have a more peaceful space?
Those are great questions. We need to be more aware of our habits. Challenge those messages that tell us we need more stuff to be happy.
It's about finding that feeling of enoughness and appreciating all the abundance that's already there in our lives.
Embracing simplicity. Definitely a virtue to think about. We can see how it connects with the others. Mastering our minds quiets the desire for more. Following our purpose lets us find fulfillment outside of material things. And respecting our time helps us realize experiences are more valuable than things. This brings us to the final virtue, number 7. What insights did the sages offer about this last one for living a radiant life?
This last one is about being present, appreciating the beauty of each moment, living in the now.
Living in the now, I think we can all relate to that, or rather our struggle with it. It's easy to get caught up worrying about the future or regretting the past. How did the sages say we could get better at living in the present?
They told a really interesting story called Peter and the Magic Thread to show what happens when we're always wishing our lives away.
Okay, Peter and the Magic Thread. Tell me more. I want to hear this.
So Peter's this young boy. He gets this magical golden thread every time he pulls on it. Time fast forwards, and he gets to experience a different stage of his life. First, he's excited. Skips ahead from childhood to adolescence, to adulthood to old age. But when he gets to the end of his life, he has this realization.
What does he realize? What's the lesson of the Magic Thread?
He realizes that he spent his whole life wanting to skip ahead, never really appreciating each stage as he was living it. He gets to the end and feels this emptiness because he never truly lived in the now. He missed out on the beauty of each moment because he was always focused on getting to the next one.
That's powerful. It reminds us that happiness isn't something you get to in the future. It's right here, right now, in the everyday joys of life.
The sages believe that the present moment, that's all we really have. The past is gone. The future, who knows? But right now, this moment, that's where life is happening. They said, stop dwelling on the past. Stop worrying about the future. Savor the beauty and the wonder that's right here in front of you.
It's about being present with your senses. The beauty of nature, the warmth of a hug, the taste of food, all those little things that we take for granted.
Exactly. True happiness isn't about chasing some future goal. It's about being right here, right now, embracing this moment.
Living in... Now, I need to practice that more. It's so easy to get lost in my thoughts and miss what's right there in front of me.
It takes practice, but with some effort, you can train yourself to be more present and appreciate the gift of each moment.
So we've explored all 7 virtues: mastering your mind, following your purpose, practicing Kaizen, living with discipline, respecting your time, embracing simplicity, and living in... Now, that's an amazing framework for a better life. But did the sages tell Julian how to actually do these things? What practical tips did they give him?
Oh yeah, they were all about putting these ideas into practice. Remember the secret of the lake for mastering your mind? They had another visualization technique. This one uses a rose.
A rose. Okay, I'm curious. What's this technique all about?
It's called the heart of the rose. Find a quiet spot, preferably somewhere beautiful in nature. Hold a rose in your hand and just look at the center of it. See all the little details, the colors, the smell. As you focus on the rose, you'll notice other thoughts popping up.
Oh yeah, I know all about that. My mind loves to wander, especially when I'm trying to concentrate.
That's totally normal. Just gently bring your attention back to the rose when it wanders. Don't get frustrated. Just notice it and go back to the rose. With practice, you'll be able to focus for longer periods.
So it's about training your mind to stay focused, stay in the present moment. I like it. What are some of the benefits of this technique?
The sages believe that doing this helps you find inner peace and worry less. It quiets the mind and creates a feeling of stillness. And they believed that when you're silent and still, you connect to a deeper source of wisdom and intuition.
Makes sense. When you clear out all the mental noise, you can hear yourself better.
And they also gave advice on how to strengthen your willpower. Remember, they were big on discipline.
Right. Living with discipline. That was number 4. Give me those willpower tips.
So the vow of silence is a powerful one, but they also said you can build discipline by doing little things every day that require willpower.
So finding those opportunities to practice self-control throughout the day.
Right. Like choosing a healthy meal when you really want that pizza, getting up early to exercise even when your bed feels so cozy, working on that project even when you're not feeling it.
It's those little choices we make that build up over time, like we're training our discipline muscle, making it easier to stick to our goals.
Speaking of goals,
Yeah.
the sages also talked about managing your time effectively. Remember, respecting your time. They said one of the keys is to figure out which activities really get you the results you want, the 20% that give you 80% of your results.
The ancient rule of 20, right? But sometimes it's hard to figure out which activities fall into that 20%. Did they give any advice on that?
They said, take some time to think about your week. Ask yourself, what are the things that bring me joy? What are the tasks that really help me make progress on my goals? What feels draining or pointless? And then once you know which activities are which, you can start focusing on the ones that matter most to you.
Helpful advice. It's about being intentional with your time, aligning your actions with your priorities.
And it's not just about work and being productive, it's also about making time for things that nourish your mind, body, and soul, like spending time in nature, doing something creative, catching up with loved ones, just having some quiet time to reflect.
Creating a life that's balanced,
Yeah?
where you have time for work and for fun, for achieving things and for taking a break.
Right. And that leads us to embracing simplicity. That's about appreciating what you already have and finding joy in the simple things.
Simplicity, I think that really resonates with people. We're always told to want more, to upgrade our stuff, to chase after the next big thing. But it seems like more people are realizing that maybe less is more. Maybe we need to live more intentionally.
The sages said that when we simplify our lives, we make more room for what really matters. Letting go of excess, decluttering our homes and our minds, focusing on experiences instead of possessions.
It's about feeling content, realizing that true wealth isn't what you own. It's about the richness of your experiences and the people in your life.
And lastly, there's living in the now. The sages believe that this moment, right here, right now, that's all we truly have. The past is over, the future is uncertain. But this moment, this is where life is actually happening.
Living in the now. So simple, but so hard to do. Our minds are always running ahead, worrying about the future or stuck in the past. Did they have any tips on how to be more present?
They talked about mindfulness. It's just paying attention to this moment right now without judging yourself. They said to try doing everyday things mindfully, like eating, walking, even taking a shower. When you focus your full attention on these simple things, you train your mind to stay present and enjoy each moment.
It's like really experiencing things with all your senses, not letting your mind wander off.
Exactly. And they also said to practice gratitude, just taking time to appreciate the good things in your life. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you stop thinking about what's missing and you start feeling more positive and happy.
So it's about focusing on what you have, not what you don't have. Finding those little moments of beauty and appreciation in everyday life.
And when you practice those things, mindfulness, gratitude, savoring the moment, you start to feel more peaceful, more joyful, and more content.
This deep dive into the monk who sold his Ferrari has been so insightful. It's amazing how these ancient teachings still apply to our lives today. It's like we've been given a roadmap to a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
And the best part is, you can start using these virtues and techniques today. You don't have to become a monk or completely change your life. Just make small changes every day, little by little, to move you closer to your dreams.
It's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. Those small improvements, those daily rituals, embracing the virtues that speak to you.
And as you do that, you'll start to see your life change in ways you never imagined. More peace, more joy, more purpose, more fulfillment. Isn't that what we all want?
Absolutely. So to all our listeners, if this deep dive resonated with you, take action. Choose one virtue, one technique, and start using it today. Even a small step can make a big difference.
And remember, the journey of self-discovery and personal growth never really ends. There's always more to learn, more to explore. So stay curious, stay open, and keep striving to live your best life.